Now, Steve, really appreciate you staying up at this really early hour for us. Now, you're a veteran White House reporter. You've spent years covering U.S. politics. I'd like to start by asking you, what was going through your mind as this siege of Capitol Hill was unfolding?
Yeah, really what was going through my mind and those of many others was just how far was this going to go? How serious was it going to get? Was it really going to delay the certification of the Electoral College votes? How much violence was it going to be? And what would be the ramifications? All of that is answered, except for perhaps the very last question.
Now, the words insurrection, mayhem, chaos, no shortage of ways to describe what has happened. As you reflect on the last days of the Trump administration, how would you describe the state of democracy in the U.S. as a Biden presidency takes over?
Well, actually, at this very hour, I'm quite optimistic, despite what we've been through in the past 24 hours or so. What we have, as you just mentioned, an indication from the White House, albeit it's a little indirect at this point, coming from Dan Scavino, his social media director on Twitter, that there will be an orderly transition of power. The Congress did its job. We've heard from key Republicans that they also want to see an orderly transition of power. And we did not see the military get involved in any of this. And although there was one person who died inside the Capitol and there was some property damage, we did not have any sort of a mass casualty event or any sort of permanent damage. But as one member of Congress said, Chuck Schumer, the Senate minority leader, soon to be the majority leader, this will be in American history one of those days of infamy.
Of course, as you mentioned, we did hear Republicans condemning the protests when Congress did reconvene, but others were still objecting to Joe Biden's win. How do you think the GOP is going to reflect on this?
This is the really big question right now. The Republican Party obviously is a very weak position. They've lost the presidency. They do not control the House, will not control the House in the near term, and now have lost the Senate. So they are definitely the minority party all across the board. And then they're having this sort of internal civil war between the Trump faction and what you might call the traditional conservative mainstream faction of the party. And that really, I think, is going to be the big political story in the days, weeks, and months ahead in the United States after Joe Biden, who is a Democrat, of course, takes office.
And of course, we are already seeing an immediate slew of resignations of people within the Trump administration, Steve.
Yes, a number of medium and high-level resignations. There are lots of rumors and speculation that we could see some cabinet secretaries resign as soon as today. Now, whether this statement that was put out on behalf of the president in the early morning hours will stem some of that remains to be seen, but definitely this was a lame duck presidency before, whether the president acknowledged that or not. But really, it is a duck at this hour hobbling on one leg.
And there is talk of impeaching the president again. Democrat Ilhan Omar saying she'll draft the new articles. What are the chances of that happening if symbolic enough?
Yeah, there's probably not enough time and enough votes for that. You have a number of Democrats who have said, look, we're now within 13, 14 days of the end of this presidency. Now, what we could see when the Democrats do take control of the Senate is you could have impeachment proceedings then. Basically to try to ensure that Donald Trump in 2024 would not be able to become president. But I think as a result of what happened on January 6th, Wednesday, that there will be all sorts of hearings in a Democrat controlled Congress looking at Donald Trump's personal behavior, his responsibility for this Capitol siege, as well as possibly formal impeachment proceedings at that time.
And finally, Steve, how will all of this impact Joe Biden's inauguration in less than 2 weeks from now? Is it even safe to have one, as Donald Trump promised in his statement?
Right. Well, it was already going to be a very scaled down inauguration because of the COVID pandemic. As you know, things have gone from bad to worse with that here in the United States. And now, as a matter of security, because the National Guard is going to be around for a while in the state of emergencies being extended by the mayor of the District of Columbia for 15 days. Do they move it inside? Right now, there's supposed to be a modest ceremony on outside of the Capitol with a small crowd, but due to security, perhaps there will be further modifications to that.